Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today. A while back, I made a video that seemed to do fairly well. People seemed to enjoy that even though it wasn't a video per se, of the DC Compacts line. DC Compact Comics was a great idea. It was a competitor to manga. It really swept the market, to be honest. They were putting out full graphic novels, basically as smaller manga-sized books for $10. You couldn't possibly beat that price. To me, it's a better deal than their DC Finest line, or really anything on the market at this point. And I waited around and I kept seeing the Marvel competitor, which is what this video is about, the Marvel Premier Collection versions. And I kind of just kept putting them off for a couple of reasons, and I'll get into that. But finally, I grabbed one up when I went to Tennessee. I went to a Books A Million out in Tennessee on my anniversary with my wife, and I grabbed up this book here that I can't review because it's been so long when I started reading it coming back from Tennessee that I just, by the time I got to the microphone to review Daredevil Born Again, I couldn't remember much. It's a great story, don't get me wrong, but that's not what this video is about. But now that I've actually read one, and now that I actually have the time, and now my voice back to talk about this thing, I wanted to make a dedicated video on my thoughts about Marvel Premier Collection, because it is the competitor that Marvel came up with to those DC Compact comics that I love deeply, and I'm still buying them left and right. Not everything, but a lot of stuff, especially the Batman and Superman stuff. And it gives me a chance to kind of experiment with things that I've wanted to read, like American Vampire. I want to get that copy at some point. So, Marvel Premier Collection, the first things that put me off that I mentioned a moment ago was the cover art, number one. It's kind of the cover on both fronts, and the pricing. First and foremost, the covers themselves, it's just red and white with a cutout picture, basically, of a character. And in this case, we have Daredevil for the picture that I'm showing here and the one I have sitting in front of me. This book is probably about 270 pages, right? But it's just a red and white cover. The spines all look the same except for the writing and the emblem of the character that book is about. I'm assuming if you got like a Punisher book, which is supposed to come out at some point, I'm assuming it's going to be like the skull. In this case, it's DD for Daredevil, like the chest emblem he has. Between the ugly ass cover art and the borders around it and whatnot, that immediately put me off. Even though I've always wanted to read Daredevil Born Again, I've never touched it. This is the first ever Daredevil I've read. From the Mr. Fantastic himself, that was a weird way of putting that, Frank Miller, the classic writer. This is the first thing I've ever loved from Frank Miller, matter of fact. I loved this book. But even after finishing this book and being so impressed with this Marvel Premier Collection for the most part, the cover itself from the design, where they could have just done something like what DC's doing with the Compacts line, of essentially just taking the trade paperback covers and putting a border around that. I think it looks much better on the shelf. The black aesthetic and all that looks nice on my shelf. These are just red and white, and the spines are boring. Not that I need super incredible spines, I just want something more aesthetically pleasing, like the Marvel Essential line, for example. These are just not doing it. The covers themselves have this not glossy cover. In case you haven't felt these yet, they're not like the DC Compact line where they're glossy, or like most trades where they're glossy. When I was first getting into writing and I published my first self-published poetry collection back in the day, I got to pick between two different covers, glossy or this other thing. I cannot remember what it's called, but it's like a thick cardboardy type of thing, and it's not slick. It's almost like, I don't know how to explain the texture, but it's a very rubbery type of texture. This is like that times 10. It's very thick as a cover itself. Not that it's removable or anything, but the actual material is very rubbery. And I'm not going to lie to you, sometimes that is so uncomfortable to read this book with, like when it comes to turning pages or just holding the book open. To me, I don't like that. I don't know if it's because the spine is so tight, which to me, I like that because I hope the book lasts for a long time. Especially a book like this that I enjoyed so much, no matter what the cover looks like. But I hate that cover design. I hate the design. I hate the feel of it. It's not good. But then you have the pricing. The pricing is $15. There's a joke I read online about a Marvel tax, that if you're a Marvel fan, you're paying the Marvel tax. Kind of like when you were a kid and you go out Halloween trick-or-treating and stuff, you pay the parent tax. You know, where your parents eat your fucking candy even though you went out and did all the work. They eat it because they're the parent, and it's the tax that the parents take. This is so true at this point. Dude, $15 for this I don't think is unbelievably bad, but it's not a good competitor price. Unless Marvel is just desperate at this point, it's not a good comparative price compared to the $10 books that DC's putting out in the compact line, to me personally. And on top of that, they don't really have a whole lot of announcements for what they're putting out for the Premier Collection. I'm really kind of sad about that. Some of the upcoming books I want really bad. They're doing a Spider-Man one with Miles and Peter together. I'm interested in that, so I'll pick it up just to experiment, like I said. They have a Punisher one coming out, like I said. I'm excited about that. My wife got me Old Man Logan for Christmas, and I'm really stoked about reading that sometime soon, God willing. There was another one, Planet Hulk. I'm excited for that too. I've never read it, but I saw the movie years ago. But like currently, the first ones they put out were like Born Again, some shitty Black Panther one, a Fantastic Four one that was abridged, where they cut out issues and cut out parts of issues on top of that, which I thought was a terrible idea. If the idea is to keep all of these at like no more than 300 pages, that was a terrible, terrible idea to cut down that Fantastic Four one. And I almost bought that after watching the new Fantastic Four First Steps movie just the other day. And when I found out it was abridged, which to their fairness, they posted it on the cover that it was an abridged copy. A lot of people are saying that a lot of stuff goes unexplained if you pick up that Premier Collection for the Fantastic Four. So I'm a little bummed by that, because I wanted to check out more of that stuff. I want to try out some Fantastic Four stuff now, because I never read it before. But I'm not going to read an abridged version. I'm just not going to. So between the editing and the pricing and the cover design itself, they're already shooting themselves in the foot. It's like Marvel just doesn't get it. Not that DC does either. If you just saw Jim Lee admitted that manga has beat American comics the other day, why did it take you 10 years to figure this out? Everyone else was trying to explain this to you. You fluffed your numbers up with a bunch of other ideas and concepts to make yourself look better as a company and lie to investors and whatever, but you can't fool the audience, who have their feelings, who have their ideas, and who tell you these things to try to help you as a company, and you tell them to fuck off. Marvel just does not get it. I don't understand it. I love Marvel. I love DC more, but I love Marvel. I don't understand what they're thinking with the Premier line. With what they're doing so far, it doesn't make any sense, but now it's too late to change. And like I said, God willing, I will pick up the newer books that come out that interest me, but they don't have a whole lot listed, and they're doing some of the same mistakes DC's doing. Like, DC put out like the Green Lantern Far Sector. Nobody's buying that shit. Nobody's buying Wonder Woman Earth 1. Maybe 2 people will, but no one else is going to buy that. So they're wasting their money already pushing that out there. But then, like with Marvel, they released Civil War, right? And I already have a Civil War trade, so I'm not going to buy that. But they released Civil War, and it's like most people that start in comics start there. That's where I started at when my friend told me about it, Civil War, back in high school. And I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. And I went and picked up Civil War. It was one of the first comics I really got into. It was the first event I ever read. And it was kind of underwhelming. It's cool as a concept, but it's not well executed in that trade or in the overall event for the most part. You shouldn't have to read that many bonus things to make that make sense. So if you pick up the Premier Collection of Civil War, you're going to have the same issue. And I'm not going to buy the book twice just because I enjoy to an extent that book out of nostalgia. But like then they had the Winter Soldier book that I'm really wanting to pick up at some point. I have half of that book in trade. I just never bought the other trade. So I don't know if I could just do that and save a little bit of money, or would it be about the same price to just buy the whole set and get rid of my old trade of Volume 1? You know, I don't know. That's not really a Marvel problem. That's a me problem. But the point is, they're making mistakes. Now, one thing I have to talk about with this Born Again book, and maybe not all the books are like this, I don't know. I didn't pay attention to the back of my Old Man Logan copy my wife got me, but in this particular Daredevil Frank Miller Born Again book, about a third of the back of the book is a lot of really cool bonus stuff that I really enjoyed. I think Marvel have kind of a leg up on DC about this, to me. And not that I think it's required of either company. I'd rather have good books. I don't think they need to be filled out to 300 pages. Just put out the book as is, with some decent stuff in there, with a good story, some of your best stories. Just do that. That's all I need. In the back of this book, they have, covers from the original issues coming out, which never impresses me with these books at all, in any trade. Then they have sketches of the drawing from one of the issues. I think it was Daredevil 233, I want to say. And that was cool. I liked that. What really impressed me as somebody who likes to work on writing scripts a little bit was seeing comic scripts for the first time, and from one of the masters, Frank Miller. I've never seen a comic script before, and getting to sit down and look at that, see how sound effects are explained in an issue, or how a page is laid out, or a panel, that was such an interesting thing to me. I really enjoyed that a lot. And again, I don't think all of these premiere collections are going to have that, so that was kind of unique to me to see that here. If they do have that and all the other ones, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this book overall, Born Again. But the premiere collection, it's like they just don't want to make money. It's like they just don't want to make money. You cannot charge $15 for this. I understand a copy of Berserk, the manga, is $15 or $16 a piece. But that's a whole different game, man. That's a whole different game. You can't put out like a lackluster Punisher book or Civil War that everybody on the planet owns and has read at some point, and it still doesn't explain the whole event properly. You can't do that. If they put out a Spider-Verse, like the Spider-Verse event, like the big old omnibus I have on my Kindle, if they did that as one of these premiere collections, I would easily pay $20 for that. But no more. No more than that. And also, I wanted to say, too, I like the size of these premiere collections. They're actually about the size of, I don't know what to really compare it to. Probably, if you go to Walmart, most of the paperbacks that are published now for, like I don't know, whatever books your wife reads, like erotica and stuff, it's about the same size as a regular paperback nowadays, like a tall paperback. And I kind of like that, you know? It's cool, it helps with the coloring. And by the way, the colors on this book look so much better than the DC Compact line. I forgot to mention that. So that's kind of impressive. I enjoyed that. The paper quality is really good, just like the DC Compact line. Maybe that's why they're trying to justify a little bit more price on it. I don't think it's fair, but still. To me, I actually like this paper quality more than I like the regular trade paperback quality you get in most trades nowadays for a regular 6-month release. That's just how I feel about it. I think it's much better. But that's really all I have to say about the premiere collections from Marvel. I'm not thoroughly impressed yet, and I don't like how they're kind of, with DC, they're publishing the best of Batman. With Marvel, it's like one Daredevil, one Punisher, one Captain America, one event, one Black Panther nobody's going to read. Both companies are making the same mistakes, but DC gets it. Superman and Batman are their headliners. They could jump into entire runs at some point if they wanted to do that and publish those compacts, and it would be great. And I suspect that Marvel should do the same thing, but will choose not to. I actually think premiere collections won't be around for a long time. I think DC's compacts will be around for a long time, and I think even though they don't want to go ahead and make every volume of a series into a release for compact, they've said they don't want to. Like, you won't supposedly get an American Vampire Volume 2. I think DC is seeing the writing on the wall change so much with the compact success. I think they're going to change their tune at some point. That's what I suspect. And I hope Marvel does that too. Again, you could publish masterworks basically as this, and people like me would buy them. They would. I really think they would. But you have to do the eras people like. Like, I would love to get Ghost Rider's Johnny Blaze era, the entirety of it. I already have it in Marvel Essential with the black and white. I'd love to get it all in color and released like this. I think that'd be awesome, So anyway, what do you think about the Marvel premiere collections? Let me know what you think would be the best way to go with this. I'd love to hear what you have to say down below. What do you like more, the DC compacts or this with the premiere collections? I'd love to hear all that down below. What do you think they should release in the future? Put that down below too. We did that on the DC compact video. Let's do that here too. I would say my most craved for stories would be like, you could do the big Spider-Man events like Maximum Carnage or Kraven's Last Hunt or something like those. Or like I said, my favorite would be Spider-Verse. I'd love to have a physical copy of Spider-Verse in a format like this. I doubt they're going to do it, but I'm excited for Old Man Logan at some point. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.